Lumion interface. In our first step to learning Lumion, we will start by getting familiar with the interface. Let's open up a new plain scene like that and check out that interface. And that is the main interface of Lumion. We will now take an overlook about that interface, and later on we will explain each and every tool in detail. Let's start from the top, where we can find layers. And layers could be very useful to add different objects to different layers. To show and hide objects in Lumion. Just a small note here. We can't hide an active layer, which is the one you are currently on. So we will need to go to a different layer to hide layer 1. Let's unhide all for now. We can add new layers from here, and we can rename layers by double-clicking here and rename our layer. And we will put that into good use in our project case study. There is an on-off button on the top right that toggles automatic hide of layers or keep it appeared all the time. On the upper right here we have that tiny button called Set Eye Level at 1.6 meter. And that is very helpful if we are accidentally fly too high or too low. We press that button that sets us back to the ground. Next to that button, there is an icon that tells us the statistics of how heavy our scene related to the computer we are using. The percentage of our CPU in use, the free gigabytes in GPU, how many 3D points in our scene, and the FPS, frames per second rate of the scene movement. Down on the left hand side we have this group of tabs where most of the work will be done using these tools and sub-tools. First we have Objects tab, where we can either import models to our Lumion scene using that green button, or we can use these set of libraries of imported models, nature models, fine detailed nature models, people and animals, effects, sounds, utilities, lights, transport, outdoor and indoor elements, and the last button on the right, select all categories. Once we choose any of these objects, we will then use the right set of buttons to control our objects, like placing, selecting, and move free, move up and down, move horizontal, or type in coordinates for that object. Then we have rotate, where we can set the orientation of our objects. Scale, where we can scale our objects, and delete, where we can delete objects. We also have undo move to undo and deselect all button. The next tab we have is Materials, and this tab will show nothing unless we select an imported model to edit its materials. And Lumion has a very strong and impressive group of materials. Then we have Landscape tab. Here we can sculpt our landscape and paint it to create very realistic landscapes. And lastly we have Weather, and here we can control our sun and skies very easily, and it's fun thing to do. If we look to the lower right of our screen, we will find a group of buttons. One of them is lit and brighter than the other. That button is build. As long as we want to build our scene, we would be set to build. The other buttons are photo, and here we are taken to another interface where we can shoot photos of our built scene with many custom styles and effects, and we will learn all about that in our course. Down here we can set all the number of photos that we want, then render them using that green button here. The next button is Movie, and here we can create our animation movies. Our movie will consist of smaller clips, and those clips we will either record it from the scenes that we built in Lumion, or we can add images and videos from external sources to be added to our movie. Then we have the button we use when we want to create 360-degree panoramas and render them. We can always get back to build by pressing that build button and continue working on our scene. And down here we can press that button to save our scene by going back to the Welcome to Lumion screen. Lastly, we have two small buttons down here, one for the settings and the other one for help. The settings button takes us to this screen where we can set the quality of our viewport in many ways. That can be very helpful when our scene gets heavy and our computers can't handle that quality and things started to get heavy and laggy. We can control the editor's quality from here. And we can control the editor's resolution from here. Use proxy. On, Lumion will replace models with proxies to help increase performance. Off will not replace models with proxies. Auto, Lumion will only replace models with proxies when the camera moves. High quality trees, when set to on, shows all trees in the editors in max quality. And it has a shortcut of F9. Auto update preview automatically update high quality preview in photo and movie mode. On the input tab, we can enable tablet input from here if we are using a tablet. We can invert mouse y-axis from here, or we can allow sending usage data to the Customer Experience Improvement Program of Lumion. Mute sound in the editor. Switch measures from metric to imperial or vice versa. Error logging on or off. Create recovery files on or off. Go or exit full screen. And lastly, we have that help button that gives us hints of how to use the program. If we press help when on the settings screen, for example, it gives us hints that we can change the language of the program from here and also explains some of the other options. If we get back to build and press that help button, we get another set of hints related to the mood that we are in. And same goes if we go to photo mode, video mode, or panorama mode. And that was simply that interface of Lumion, an introduction to the overall map of that amazing software we are going to use.